Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and it's time again for anime discussion. And it's been a weird week because I've been sick, and I recorded my Makia podcast late on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever, and got to it. And it's a couple of days later, and I feel better, but it just feels weird because I did keep up with the anime stuff, but when I'm not on my schedule, it just feels awkward. And if my voice feels off in any way still, it's just residuals from the cold. I don't have it anymore. I hope I don't have another one because I've had like two in the last couple of months. It's not been very fun. But as per usual, it's a couple weeks of anime stuff, dub only, so I may or may not be up to date depending on the episodes that have been uploaded. And I'm mostly speculating, though at this point of the season we're kind of getting to the tail end of things, so the speculation stuff is going to go away, and now it's kind of geared into, can it just finish strong? And do I trust a show to finish strong, with like 4 episodes or so to go? And let's see here. What do we have? We have Frieren Season 2. This one's kind of still midway in because the dubs started late. But we've got Stark and Fern going on their date. And I kind of enjoyed that they didn't do anything, because they've always had this like weird awkward feel to their relationship. Like they haven't gotten close, but they also have, but they're also unsure of themselves, but they're also not sure of, they're back and forth between they know they like each other and respect each other versus how do they interact with people. So their date fit perfectly, and their uncertainty of things, and then like getting used to it, like all of their, like, all we do is talk about Mistress Frieren. I'm like, that's kind of what would happen, if you're unsure. Now they're in the Northern Plateau, and like everything is exploding and everything is painful and lots of bad monsters are here. Frieren going to work in a mine, I was kind of expecting her to just use a pickaxe and work, but no, I think they're going to do something a little simpler about that. She has magic to use. It's great. But, the Northern Plateau being this big bombastic place full of death and bleh, it's a little eerie that it looks kind of normal, but the monsters there are not normal. So it's a step up in class from all the pain. And I'm like, Frieren told them. So it's like, yes. To Your Eternity. This took a few weeks off. I'm guessing just because they usually do 20 episode spurts. They don't do the usual 12. So they split, I think. So I've only been able to kind of keep up with one episode recently. I think they're going to debut another one tomorrow, but it's getting towards the tail end. And, they're in that confrontation with Mizuha or her knocker or whatever, and they're trying to figure out, like, what is the knocker trying to do? Well, the knocker finally kind of moved, and its idea was to take a facsimile or homunculus of Fushi made of meat. Yeah, just a bunch of knockers turned into meat to look like Fushi, and then wander around the school and then try to infect people. And, it's just a bunch of knockers and knocker cages and lots of stuff and people trying to save them. And, it was kind of neat seeing different students realize that, oh God, okay, mostly because Tonari was there and helped save people and understood what was going on so that other students were not affected, fairly small amount, but still some of them. But they're reinforcing the idea that the knockers aren't really trying to coexist. Not really. No. They're still evil as shit. Because of course they are. Um, Trigun Stargaze. Speaking of evil, I mentioned in the last episode that they've been kind of pulling this thing where the gung ho guns have conscience in some respect. Not all of them, but some of them. And like Mid Valley is just like, this is a bit misunderstood. This is dumb. Like, I don't understand why they're so freaking nasty, and I'm scared of knives. Sympathetic, so to speak. So he and Wolfwood get in this awesome fight, which was great. But Vash gets involved. They find cool ways of getting around like the new power sets that they give these characters. So the passage of time has made these fight scenes so good. They have reveled in their ability, because the old Trigun stuff was a lot of just, here's a standoff, here's a gunshot, here's a fight, here's a whatever, and it's a lot of static shots. This is full CG, crazy fight scenes, lots of effects, So they have to come up with other ways to work around it. And I like these fight scenes. They do end up getting Vash, and it's funny that like Wolfwood is kind of with them and not with them, because that's actually kind of how it was in the original show. Like, he was sort of with the gung-ho guns, sort of, not really. Is he? What Knives is actually gonna do, we've kind of figured out. But again, his power set in Insanity, I do like that they focused more on Knives, because Legata was kind of the main villain most of the time, because Knives was sitting there. But this version gives Knives a lot more to work with. Gives, Zazie the Beast a hell of a lot more to work with as an observer. And just fill her in like narrator kind of thing. And it's like, this is exciting. It's different, and they're not trying to just repeat what they did. It does feel like they're repeating, but they're not just doing it beat for beat. And that is important, because if you're just doing it beat for beat and you're remaking it, then something's been lost. But you don't want to do like full wholesale transformation, so it's kind of like, you want to keep to the spirit, but you also want to expand and try something a little darker, a little deeper. And I think they're achieving a good balance of it. Hell's Paradise. This is kind of the part of the series where they're narrowing down, like, they're looking for an elixir of life, and they are also fighting a bunch of Tencent. What I hope for is just, this is probably going to remind me of Gachi Yakuta last season, where they're going to spend like 4 or 5 episodes fighting a bunch of things and doing a bunch of things. But it's fine. I mean, they've still got 4 or 5 episodes to do it, and you've got separate fights, with different things. You might as well, because that's the kind of show this is. And you're fighting these weird immortal-ish beings, and you might as well just revel in the insanity, because that's kind of where the show is leading to. But they do a good job, I think, of weaving in the I don't want to say occult stuff, the mystical stuff, and trying to make it make sense for the fight narrative and what gives you power, because some of that stuff, sometimes if you go too overboard, it becomes too much detail, and it just begrudgingly just looks like, just get to the fucking fights, because that's where some shonen drop me, is like, do not do so much detail, but the allure of the characters and a lot of their personalities have still stuck with me. Sentenced to be a Hero, same thing. This has enough stuff, but it doesn't dwell on the details. It's dirty, it's grimy, it's disgusting, it sucks. And I think the last couple of episodes have been kind of like, Kivia has got a thing for Xylo, but Xylo has a fiance, and it's okay, this is kind of neat. So it's like, he's building a sort of harem-ish thing, but it's not overt, so it's just kind of a love triangle scenario right now. Because, again, that's what they always fucking do with these shows. But at the same time, he's keeping his distance, and he's like, all right, this is, he's not changing and letting on that he likes any of them more so than he has to. Like, they're not slovenly just going down the stupid harem trope. They're focusing on what's making the show work, which is a lot of blood, a lot of cursing, a lot of destruction, a lot of seedy underbelly shit, and it's working. And, the fight scenes are kind of the main draw again. But enough flavor with the seedy world that it fits. And, everybody's out to get them. And then you have these things called coexisters, where it's like these fairies, just work with the fairies. And it's like these things are disgusting. And they're taking over the world. And yet people are liking them. And it's like, why? They're going to take over everything. This is dumb. You should be fighting. Nope. You coexist with them. So you have this, like, weird political intrigue shit while this guy's just trying to stab these weird monster things, So, again, in the same way Hell's Paradise is doing it, this is doing it in a lot more just down-to-earth, gritty way. And, gotta have a couple of shows like that every once in a while. And I sometimes shonen doesn't always jive with me, but I think these ones have. Let's see. Shiboyugi. This, again, still my favorite show. I'm trying to decide if I like this more or if I like In the Clear Moonlit Dusk and Sentenced to be a Hero. But it's kind of fit. Like, those are kind of the three that have been, like, my favorites. But Shiboyugi, they got done with the last game, and what their narrative structure is weird because I don't think they're going in narrative order. They're bouncing around depending on which game they want Yuki to focus on. So technically this is the 9th game as opposed to the 30th. So we're now seeing her back in kind of the midpoint of her so far. And because who knows how many games she's actually done, and I don't even know how many games they're going to do with this series. I don't know if they're going to keep going with it or not. But this one is bunnies versus stumps, and it's bunnies versus trees. And they basically just say, we got bunny girls, we got girls that look like trees, or in just basically brown outfits. The focus on this one is surviving a week. So they spent this episode not really doing a lot of crazy stuff. They were focusing on Moegi and another character that took her, I guess, as an orphan or a runaway, and she realized that this lady was like a massive... Oh, yeah, she was a runaway because her parents... Like, she legit asked her some questions that were like, answer them the right way or I'll just kill you. And it's like, ugh. And one of those types of people. And it's like, okay, why am I with this person? This is weird. And you get these, like, long cuts. This show has been a lot of, like, subdued, long, like, 30-second or 45-second stretches of nothing happening. And an eerie, just... unsettling, like, oh, I'm watching somebody eat food or stare at a screen or not say anything, and it's like it's mood, and then you wait for them to say something. But I'm also thinking they might just be stretching time because they got nothing else to do. But then you just see this lady being like, oh, I want to kill somebody, let's go, and let's just do it. So Moegi is just, this sucks, So Moegi is not really happy about this situation, but she's learning what to do. And then you find out that lady is actually part of the bunny group and is like just doing her own thing and just, hey, I'm killing everybody. And that was a cliffhanger. It was like, yeah. I mean, to be fair, like the subtitle in the opening once the car crash stuff happens, is this is a story about a deranged world. And I'm like, yeah, you have to keep that in mind, is that's kind of the point. What's not deranged, or deranged in a different way, is you and I are polar opposites. This is a show focusing on Tani and Suzuki, and they do enough with them, but they also bounce around to the other couple of people that they work around. I did like the end of the most recent episode where Tani met like Suzuki's parents, and they're just completely nuts and excitable people. Like, she's an off the wall weirdo most of the time, and then you hear like the excitement of knowing that she has a boyfriend, and they're just like, I know where she gets it. Oh my god, And then Tani is just like, okay, this explains a lot, And then you get the other relationships, and I do like that they bounce around from a couple different perspectives, and they don't just focus on the main two, because we have shows that do that. Because in the Clear Moonlit Dusk and Love Through a Prism, well, we'll get to those in a minute. Those are focused on those two. So I like that Polar Opposites has a couple of different relationships that they bounce around here and there to talk about and show growth, and still manage to do the gremlin energy thing when they need to. Kaya-chan is not scary. Not a lot changed in this one. They've been introducing a guy who's been like Uncle Mobe's extra like supervisor, leader, person, whatever, and they're introducing more of Kaya's family and trying to like narrow down like what is exactly going on with her family. Again, I've known what's been going on with her mother for a while, but they haven't like expressly stated the thing. They've mainly just said, stay out of our business. The Miss Chie thing is her school teacher, but like she's involved, but they don't want her involved because she's just normal. But she wants to be involved because she's Kaya's teacher, so she knows more than she needs to. So it's like, eventually she's going to get involved anyway, so might as well. And then you still have just the cutaways to, oh, here's another ghoul gag, here's another demon gag, here's another whatever. So they've still got like 5 or 6 episodes to like narrow down. I don't know. This doesn't seem to me like a show that needs to go 24. Like, I like it, but I don't think it needs to go any further than it needs to. But, I mean, you can only go so far. So, if you're going to throw in some new stuff, they better do it fast, because they don't want to just do the 2-episode, hey, we're at the 2-episode problem, let's just ram through it and get to it. Let everything breathe. I think they've done good enough of showing us the stakes so far, but they need to enhance that and start explaining everything in a hurry so it doesn't come out of left field. Love Through a Prism. This one I took a little bit of a lesser time with. I forgot to get to my 2 episodes this week because I had the cold and I was watching Blue Eye Samurai and Star Trek. So I was like, all right, I wanted to get to this again, but I got to the episodes last week at least, and they've really kind of centered on Lily is wanting to go home. And, the whole thing of, because I referenced this, I think in the last review or 2 reviews ago, where I didn't like their relationship because Kit's like reticence to help, kind of flies in the face of all the advantages he has. Like, I understand his annoyance of being the son of the billionaire, whatever, and all the, all the chains and the shackles. And I'm like, dude, you have a silver spoon. You just enjoy that you have a silver spoon, But then you have Lily and Catherine becoming friends, and then you have Lily like trying to help Kit recover from a cold so that she just gives up trying to be in school again. So it kind of just forgot where that's where it stopped. I don't think they. I mean, I still own about 6 episodes to go, give or take. So I still have a lot more I can work on. I think it's a 20-episode show, so I can make up ground when I have an open opportunity to do it. It's just, the cold kind of messed with my mojo a little bit. So that one took a little bit of a backseat. An adventurer's daily grind at age 29. This one is the junk food slot. Last episode was about, Veronica and losing her brothel to some dragon just slept on it and broke the fucking house. So Riri comes and saves it by destroying a monster in a bet or whatever, so she gets it back. I was wondering how far they'd go with Veronica and Hajime, but they didn't really do that. Instead, Hajime was just around a bunch of hooker succubi, and Riri was just staring at him the whole time. It's like, get away! I'm like, here we go again. This is really goofy. So the recent episode was more about Riri in a relationship with another girl, but this one was like a half, I don't know, a bird character, so Aarakocra kind of thing. Half human bird hybrid girl, and trying to, I think the family, the father is a scholar, so she is a bit of a know-it-all, and Riri's just like, oh, you're stupid, you're dumb, and I'm like, no, I'm not dumb. And then they go to school and they realize that they are kind of stupid and dumb, but it's, again, there's no stakes to this show. It's just dumb fun, and I think, it fits that, it's charming enough because the characters are charming, but don't expect anything mind-blowing. It's really just, I need to blow off some steam. I want to watch something stupid and funny, and this is stupid and funny. And then in the Moonlit Dusk, this last set of episodes put in the idea of a new hire at Yoi's workplace and her father's shop, and the dude starting to feel things for Yoi as a coworker and as a friend, but more so getting under Kohaku's skin because he can't really handle, they're in that, what they're calling an experiment. They know they like each other, but they don't know how they're handling it, and Kohaku's been, super chill about the whole thing and almost creepy-ish, and he knows that she has the other dude's number in her phone, and it's innocent in the sense that, okay, well, I need to know if this guy's going to miss work or something, because that's what you should do, but he thinks she's two-timing him or whatever, which is not the case, but he becomes a bit possessive and shit, and then he, the cliffhanger is he finally kind of raises his voice because he's been, pulling this weird shit in class where he's kind of getting involved, kind of not doing anything, kind of doing stuff, and the uncertainty of Yoi's feelings of, I like this guy too much, but he's a bit fucking weird even for him, and it's just driving me nuts. So that he blows up on her, and it's okay, now we're getting that split, because that they're going to work through it, because we were 5 or 6 episodes away, but it's still it's fun to finally see him under duress a little bit, because he did come off a little too cool for school, and almost like he had every answer for her stuff, and he's just finally no, I actually do kind of feel for you, but you also understand her motivation, because why do you care that another guy's number's in my phone? There's nothing going on because he's a fucking coworker. So it's just mixed signals, that bullshit, because you understand his side of it, but you understand her side of it because that's normal fucking logic, but love is not normal. Love is stupid, and love makes people do stupid things. And That sort of dichotomy works, and I love it because it is very realistic. There's not a lot that goes on in most of these episodes. It's a lot of them doing narration, mostly Yoi narrating her feelings, but it's still just things that make sense slowly building, because the other relationships in the other shows are very, very fast and like a lot of actiony stuff, and it's nice to do stuff like this, which is a very slow building, relationship, and pondering the feelings of it and pondering the consequences of it, and like, do we really care? Do we really like, that sort of drama? Because the other ones are played for comedy. This one's played very dramatically, and it's nice. But that's why it's been one of my favorites. Again, I think Shiboyugi's taken a bit of a step backwards, but Sentenced to be a Hero and Clear Moonlit Dusk have kind of stuck with it, and that, like, those are the top three. And then, obviously, stuff like Frieren and To Your Eternity are going to be, stuff I think of fondly. But as far as new shows, like, they're keeping pace above everything else, and I enjoy it. But that'll do for this week. I gotta get to some other recordings for now. But let me see what I'm doing next. And like I said, I got to Makia, so I uploaded that for last week. And sorry if you hear my computer turning itself on. Oh boy, that's fun. But yeah, we got that. Hopefully Lee and I can do an Apothecary Diaries rundown sometime in the next couple of weeks. But before that, I'm going to be talking about Final Fantasy VI. And I could spend hours talking about Final Fantasy VI, and I could probably do it with my eyes closed and with no prep. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to prep a damn thing and be like, I'm just going to see what happens. Because to say that I've played Final Fantasy VI a lot would be an understatement. To say that I've played Final Fantasy VI randomized a lot is an understatement. I know that game a lot. So much so that I might kill my voice doing it if I keep talking. Anyway, East Origin, I completed that game on my channel, so we'll talk about it. Be the Beginning, and then Mega Man 5 and Mega Man X5. So I'm good for the next couple of months. But for now, I'll call it an episode, and I'll see you next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.